take your seats, everyone. Jack and I walked to the right of a couple of sixth graders into the building and then followed them into the auditorium. Mrs. G was at the entrance handing out the programs and the kids telling us where to go. Fifth graders, down the aisle, to the left, she said. Sixth graders, go to the right. Everyone, come in. Good morning. Go to your staging areas. Fifth grade to the left, sixth grade to the right. The auditorium was huge inside. Sparkling chandeliers, red velvet walls, rows and rows and rows of cushioned seats leading up to the giant stage. We walked down the aisle and followed the signs to the fifth grade staging area, which was in the big room to the left of the stage. Inside were 4 rows of folding chairs facing the front of the room, which is where Ms. Rubin was standing and waving us on as soon as we walked in. Okay, kids, take your seats, she was saying, pointing to the rows of chairs. Don't forget, you're sitting in alphabetical order. Come on, everybody, take your seats. Not too many kids arrived yet, though the ones who had weren't listening to her. Me and Jack were sword fighting, and we pulled out our programs. Hey, guys. It was Summer walking up to us. She was wearing a light pink dress and, I think, a little makeup. Wow, Summer, you look awesome, I told her, because she really did. Really? Thanks. You do too, Augie. Yeah, you look okay, Summer, said Jack, kind of matter-of-factly. For the first time, I realized that Jack had a crush on her. This is so exciting, isn't it, said Summer. Yeah, kind of, I answered, nodding. Aw, man, look at this program, said Jack, scratching his forehead. We're going to be here all flippin' day. I looked at my program. Headmaster's open remarks, Dr. Daryl Jansen. Middle school director's address, Mr. Lawrence Tushman. Light and Day, middle school choir. 5th grade student commencement address, Eczema Chin. Pachelbel Canon D, middle school chamber music. 6th grade student commencement address, Mark Antonic. Under Pressure, middle school choir. Middle school dean's address, Ms. Jennifer Rubin. Awards presentation, see back. Roll call of names. Why do you think that? I asked. Because Mr. Jensen's speeches go on forever, said Jack. He's worse than Tushman. My mom said he actually dozed off last year when he spoke, Summer added. What's the awards presentation? I asked. Oh, that's where they give medals to the biggest brainiacs, said Jack. Which will mean Charlotte and Eczema Chin will win every little thing there is in 5th grade, just like Charlotte won everything in 4th grade and in 3rd grade. Not in 2nd grade, I asked. They didn't have awards in 2nd grade, he answered. Maybe you'll win this year, I joked. Ha! Not unless they give awards for the most C's, he laughed. Everyone, take your seats. Ms. Rubin started yelling louder now, like she was getting annoyed with everybody, that nobody was listening to her. We have a lot to get through, so take your seats. Don't forget you're sitting in alphabetical order. A through G, first row. H through N, second row. O through Q, third row. And R through Z in the last row. Let's go, people! Oh, we should go sit down, said Summer, walking around the front section. You guys definitely coming over my house after this, right? I called out after her. Definitely, she said, taking her seat next to Eczema Chin. When did summer get so hot? Jack muttered in my ear. Shut up, dude, I said, laughing as we headed towards the 3rd row. Seriously, when did that happen? He whispered, taking the seat next to mine. Mr. Will, Miss Rubin shouted. Last time I checked, W came between R and Z. Yes? Jack looked at her blankly. Dude, you're in the wrong row, I said. I am? And the face he made got up to leave, which was a mixture of looking completely confused and looking like he was just playing a joke on someone, totally cracked me up. A simple thing. About an hour later, we were all sitting in the giant auditorium waiting for Mr. Tushman to give his middle school address. The auditorium was even bigger than I imagined it would be. Bigger than the one at Via's school. I looked around. There must be 1 million people in the audience. Okay, maybe not 1 million, but there was definitely a lot. Thank you, Mr. Headmaster Jensen, for the very kind words of introduction, said Mr. Tushman, standing behind the podium. On the stage, he talked into the microphone. Welcome, my fellow teachers and members of faculty. Welcome, parents and grandparents and friends and honored guests, and most especially welcome to my 5th and 6th grade students. Welcome to Beecher Prep Middle School graduation ceremonies. Everyone applauded. Every year, continued Mr. Tushman, reading from his notes with his glasses way down on the top of his nose, I am charged with writing 2 commencement addresses, one for the 5th and 6th grad ceremony today, and one with the 7th and 8th ceremony that will take place tomorrow. And every year I find myself trying to get myself to cut it down on my work and write just one address that I can use for both situations. Seems like it wouldn't be such a hard thing to do, right? And yet, each year I still end up with 2 different speeches. No matter what my intentions, I finally figured out why this year. It's not, as you might assume, simply because tomorrow I'll be talking to an older crowd with middle school experience that is largely behind them, whereas middle school experience are largely in front of you. No, I think it has more to do with the particular age that you are right now and the particular moment of your lives. Even after 20 years of me being around students at this age, it still moves me because you're at the cusp, kids. You're at the edge between childhood and everything that comes after. You're in a transition. We are all gathered here together, Mr. Tushman continued, taking off his glasses and using them to point out to the audience. All your friends, family, teachers are here to celebrate not just your achievement for the past year, Beecher Middle Schoolers, but your endless possibilities. When you reflect on this past year, I want you to all look up where you were now and where you've been. You've all gotten a little taller, a little stronger, a little smarter. Well, I hope. Here some people in the audience started to chuckle. But the best way to measure how you've grown isn't by inches or the number of laps you can now run around the track or even your grade point average, though those things are important to be sure. It is what you have done with your time, how you have chosen to spend your days, and whom you have touched this year. That, to me, is the greatest measure of success. There's a wonderful line in the book by J.M. Barrie, and no, it's not Peter Pan. I'm going to ask you to clap if you believe in fairies. Everyone laughed again. But in another book by J.M. Barrie called The Little White Bird, he writes, he started flipping through the small book in the podium and he found his pages that he was looking for, and then he put his reading glasses on. Shall we make a new rule of life? Always to try to be a little kinder than it is necessary. Here, Mr. Tushman looked at the audience. Kinder than necessary, he repeated. What a marvelous line, isn't it? Kinder than is necessary. Because it's not enough to be kind. One should be kinder than needed. Why? Why do I love this line? That concept? Is it that it reminds me that we carry us as humans, as human beings, not just the capacity to be kind, but also the very choice of kindness. And what does that mean? How is that measured? How can you use a yardstick? It's like I was saying before, it's not like measuring how much you've grown this past year. It's not exactly quantifiable, is it? How do we know you've been kind? What is being kind anyway? He put his reading glasses on again and started flipping through another small book. There's another passage in a different book I'd like to share with you, he said, if you'll bear with me while I find it. Here we go. Under the Eyes of the Clock by Christopher Nolan. The main character is a young man who is facing some extraordinary challenges. There is one part where someone helps him, a kid in his class. On the surface, it's a small gesture, but to this young man, whose name is Joseph, if you'll permit me, he cleared his throat and read from the book. It was at moments such as these that Joseph recognized the face of God in human form. It glimmered through the kindness to them. It glowed in their keenness. It hinted in their caring. Indeed, it caressed their gaze. He paused and took off his reading glasses again. It glimmered in the kindness to him, he repeated, smiling. Such a simple thing, kindness. Such a simple thing, a nice word of encouragement, given when needed. An act of friendship, a passing smile. He closed the book, put it down, and leaned forward on the podium. Children, What I want to impact on you today is the understanding of the value of a simple thing called kindness. And that's what I all want to leave you with today. I know that I'm kind of infamous for my verbosity. And everybody laughed again, because we all know his speeches were long. But I want you, my students, to take away from your middle school experience, he continued, is to the sure knowledge that if in the future you make for yourselves anything is possible, if every single person in this room made it a rule that wherever or whoever, whenever you can, you will try to act a little kinder than necessary, the world really would be a better place. And if you do this, if you act just a little kinder than is necessary, someone else, somewhere, someday, may recognize you in every single one of you, the face of God. Then he paused or shrugged. Or whatever politically correct spiritual representation of universal goodness that happen you to believe in, he added quickly, smiling, which got a lot of laughs and loads of applause, especially from the back of the auditorium where all the parents were sitting. Awards. I like Tushman's speech, but I have to admit I kind of zoned out a little during the other speeches. It turned again to Ms. Rubin. Started off reading off the names of all the kids who made the high school honor roll, or high honor roll, because we were supposed to stand up when our names were called, so I waited and listened for my name, down alphabetically. Reed Kingsley, Maya McCowitz, August Pullman. I stood up. Then when they finished reading off the names, she asked us all to face the audience and take a bow, and everyone clapped. I had no idea where in that huge crowd my parents might be sitting. All I could see were flashes of lights and people taking photos and parents waving at their kids. I pictured Mom waving from somewhere, even though I couldn't see her. Then Tushman came back to the podium to present the medals of academic excellence, and Jack was right. Eczema Chin won the gold medal for overall academic and excellence in 5th grade, and Charlotte won silver. Charlotte also won the gold medal for music. Amos won the gold medal for overall excellence in sports, which I was really happy about, because ever since the nature retreat, I consider Amos to be like one of my best friends in school. But I really, really was thrilled when Mr. Tushman called out Summer's name for the gold medal in creative writing. I saw Summer put her hand over her mouth when her name was called. And when she walked up onto the stage, I yelled, "Woohoo, Summer!" as loudly as I could, though I don't think she heard me. And after the last name was called, the kids who just won the award stood next to him on stage, and Mr. Tushman said to the audience, "Ladies and gentlemen, I'm very honored to present you this year's Beecher Prep Scholastic Achievers, and congratulations to all of you." I applauded as the kids on stage bowed. I was so happy for Summer. "The final award this morning," Mr. Tushman said after the kids got on stage and took their seats, "is the Henry Ward Beecher Medal of Honor to students who have a notable exemplary of certain areas throughout the school year. Typically, this medal has been a way of acknowledging volunteerism or service to the school." I immediately figured Charlotte would get this medal too, because she organized the coat drive for the year. So I kind of zoned out again, and I looked at my watch. It's 10:56. I was getting hungry. It's lunchtime already. Henry Ward Beecher was, of course, the 19th century abolitionist, the fiery sermonizer for human rights, after whom this school was named. Mr. Tushman was saying as I started to pay attention. While reading up on his life for the presentation of this award, I came upon a passage that he wrote that seemed particularly consistent with the themes that I touched on earlier. Themes I've been ruminating upon all this year. Not just the nature of kindness, but the nature of one's kindness, the power of one's friendship, the test of one's character, the strength of one's courage. And here is the weirdest thing that happened. Mr. Tushman's voice cracked a bit, like he got all choked up. He actually cleared his throat and took a big sip of water and started paying attention for real now to what he was saying. This had to be good. "The strengths of one's courage," he repeated quietly, nodding and smiling. He held up his right hand like he was counting off. "Courage, kindness, friendship, character. These are the qualities that define us as human beings, and they propel us. They propel us onto greatness. And this is what the Henry Ward Beecher Medal is all about, recognizing greatness." But how do we do that? How do we measure something like greatness? Again, there's no yardstick for that kind of thing. How do we even define it? Well, Beecher actually had an answer for that. He put on his reading glasses again and leafed through the book, and he started to read. Greatness, wrote Beecher, lies not in being strong, but in the right use of strength. He is the greatest whose strength carries him up the most hearts. And again, out of the blue, he gets all choked up. He puts his index fingers over his mouth for a second before he could continue. He is the greatness, he finally continued, he is the greatest, he finally continued, whose strength carries up the most hearts, the attraction of his own. Without further ado, this year I am very pleased to honor the Henry Ward Beecher Medal to the student with the quiet strength that has carried up most hearts. So, August Pullman, will you please receive this award? Come up here and please receive this award.